A single drop of a mother's milk, said to be heavier than the mightiest mountain. The bond between a mother and child runs so deep that it can become the very root of the endless cycle of rebirth. Have you ever wondered how this love, praised by so many, could also turn into the greatest trap within that cycle? Is it truly the most generous form of kindness? Or is there a hidden chain binding us from one life to another? Today, let's explore the awakened one's wisdom and see through the reality behind this powerful mother-child connection. Trust me, what you discover might completely overturn your understanding of family ties, yet it will also open the door to a new perspective on life and rebirth. Someone once asked why people say that the bond between mother and child is especially unbreakable. Hearing this, the awakened one began with a gentle smile, but soon took on a serious tone. One drop of a mother's milk is heavier than the greatest mountain. Everyone present assumed he would go on to praise this natural relationship, but then he revealed a shocking truth that moved everyone to tears. He explained that what seems to be the purest and most precious love in all existence is, in fact, one of the hardest shackles to break in the cycle of birth and death. A key reason beings remain trapped in suffering and struggle to reach true liberation. The crowd was stunned. How could something so beautiful contain such a hidden danger? This revelation not only offered insight into personal spiritual awakening, but also acted like a key to understanding why countless beings rise and fall in rebirth, never escaping the endless loop. In a place known for its compassionate community stood a talented merchant named Good Fortune. He credited all his success to his mother, Compassionate Heart, who had endured countless hardships to raise him. From an early age, she taught him uplifting scriptures, showing him how to distinguish right from wrong and guiding him toward an honest way of life. Good Fortune was well aware of how many sacrifices his mother made. Seeing her grow frail from long years of toil, her hair turning gray, he often felt overwhelmed by gratitude and guilt. He would ask himself how he could ever repay her kindness. One autumn, Good Fortune returned from a distant trading journey. As soon as he entered his home, he found his mother lying in bed, breathing faintly. Panicking, he summoned the most renowned healer in town, someone called Kind Doctor. After carefully checking Compassionate Heart's pulse, the healer's face became grim. "This sickness has reached the bones," he said, "and there may be no cure." On hearing this, Good Fortune dropped to his knees by his mother's bedside, sobbing uncontrollably, tears flowing without end. "Mother," he cried, "please hold on. I haven't even had the chance to truly repay everything you've done for me." Gathering what little strength she had left, Compassionate Heart gently squeezed his hand. Her voice was barely audible, but carried unwavering resolve. "My child, I never expected any repayment. I only have one wish in my heart." Good Fortune urged her to speak, promising he would do anything to fulfill her desire. With a soft smile, she replied, "My greatest blessing in this life was to be your mother. Long ago, I vowed before the awakened one's sacred image that in the next life I would be your mother again, to watch over you forever." With those final words, she closed her eyes and passed away peacefully. Overwhelmed by grief, Good Fortune felt as if his spirit had left him. He stayed by his mother's side, weeping day and night, unable to eat or sleep. Neighbors who witnessed this said, "Look how devoted he is. What a moving display of mother-child affection." It was at this time that a traveling monk with a long white beard approached Good Fortune. Observing his deep sorrow, the monk quietly asked, "Have you ever wondered how many lifetimes this mother-child bond can actually last?" Good Fortune, eyes red and swollen, answered through sobs, "If I could be with my mother again in the next life, I would gladly make any sacrifice." The monk shook his head gently and said, "Only the fully awakened can answer that. The teacher is teaching in the Bamboo Grove Monastery right now. Why not go and ask? Seizing this glimmer of hope, Good Fortune quickly packed his things and set off. On the road, he met several travelers who had similar stories. One father named Lotus said his own mother, on her deathbed, had promised she would be his mother again in another life. A scholar named Bright Mind added that his mother also held his hand before she passed, saying she could never let him go and would return to him in the next life. Still another, an older man named Wise Light, mentioned how his mother had been gone for 15 years, but had said something similar, that her greatest wish was to be his mother in every future life. Good Fortune was amazed. Why did so many mothers make the same vow in their final moments? What made this love so powerful that it fueled such determination? When they finally arrived at the Bamboo Grove Monastery, they found the Awakened One teaching a gathering of followers. The atmosphere was solemn and focused. After the teaching session ended, Good Fortune and the others respectfully approached. Speaking for the group, he asked, "Teacher, we all share the same question. Our mothers vowed to be our mothers again in the next life. Can this wish really come true? Does this bond carry over to future lives?" The Awakened One gazed at them kindly and replied, "Before I answer, consider this. Do you know how many times you've each been reborn throughout this vast, endless cycle of existence? Do you know how many times you have been someone's child and how many have been your parents?" They looked at one another, speechless, having no idea how to respond. Seeing their confusion, the Awakened One continued, "Allow me to use my clarity to show you a glimpse of your past connections." In a moment, visions appeared like moving pictures. 7 lives ago, Good Fortune had been a powerful military officer, while his present mother had been an adversary in an opposing force. 9 lives ago, Lotus had been a dedicated healer, and his current mother had been just one of the many patients who sought his help. 11 lives ago, Bright Mind was a busy merchant involved in a dispute with a difficult customer, someone who, in this life, happened to be his mother. These revelations left everyone stunned, barely able to accept the complexity of their past lives. The Awakened One reminded them that these examples were merely tiny drops in a vast ocean. In countless turns of rebirth, every being has taken on the roles of parents, children, siblings, or partners. The mother you hold so dear today could be a stranger or even an adversary in the next life. Realizing this, Good Fortune's mind turned to his mother's final vow. Shaken, he asked, "Teacher, if that's the truth, then why do our mothers make such vows on their deathbeds? What is really happening in those final moments?" Wise Light, still grieving, interrupted with trembling voice, "Teacher, my mother has been gone for 15 years, and I've clung to the hope that we'll be reunited in another life. Is that hope misguided?" Bright Mind also asked, "If this love doesn't continue into the next life, then what of our duty to repay our parents' kindness in this life? Isn't that too fleeting?" Lotus, with tears streaming down, added, "I always believed my mother's last wish came from pure love. Is there something wrong with that wish? I'm so confused." The Awakened One's expression became solemn and compassionate. He spoke slowly. "You are touching on a crucial question. Your mother's final vows reveal one of the saddest and harshest truths about existence. It's not just about your individual connections. It goes straight to why countless beings remain trapped in birth and death without release. But this truth may break your hearts. It will change everything you thought you knew about the mother-child bond. Are you truly ready to face it?" Overcome with emotion, they knelt together, tears soaking their clothes. Good Fortune answered for them all, voice quivering, "Teacher, please show us. Even if it shatters us, we need to understand." Filled with empathy, the Awakened One said, "Your mothers formed these vows because their attachment to you is exceedingly deep. On the surface, it appears to be boundless compassion and care. Yet in reality, it is one of the tightest chains that keeps beings entangled in suffering, ensuring they remain caught in the cycle of rebirth. It's like bubbles in the ocean, each believing it has its own unique existence, unaware that all bubbles arise from the same body of water. By clinging to a particular relationship, we lose sight of our true nature. Still puzzled, Wise Light asked, "Teacher, isn't a mother's love the most natural emotion in the world? We're brought up to believe it's the highest virtue. How can it turn into an obstacle on the spiritual path?" The awakened one explained, "Exactly because it's such a strong, instinctive feeling, it can obscure your true self if you do not recognize the bigger picture. Mothers think promising to be a child's mother forever is the ultimate expression of love, but they haven't recognized the reality of the cycle of birth and death. Genuine compassion is not fixated on any single lifetime's connections. It aims to help each other awaken and break free from the ocean of suffering." Good Fortune then asked thoughtfully, "So, teacher, are you saying that rather than clinging to the idea of remaining mother and child in future lives, we should focus on practicing and finding freedom right now?" The awakened one nodded approvingly. "Indeed. The love between mother and child is extraordinarily precious, but there's an even greater goal: guiding one another toward awakening. Once you fully grasp this truth, you'll understand that every being has at some point been your parent and may one day be your child. True devotion isn't about maintaining that parent-child tie forever. It's about helping each other leave behind the cycle of suffering. That is the highest form of gratitude." Lotus spoke up, "Teacher, what should we do about those final vows our mothers made? They mean so much to us, yet seem at odds with finding liberation. How do we handle this?" The awakened one smiled gently and said, "You don't abandon that love. You uplift it. Think of a small stream merging into the vast ocean. It loses its individual name but remains water in essence. By letting go of narrow attachments and realizing that all living things share the same fundamental nature, your love expands infinitely. That's how you guide both mother and child toward real freedom." Everyone present felt deeply moved by these words, and tears of comprehension flowed. They realized that while a mother's final vow appears full of devotion, it also reveals a misunderstanding of life's deeper truths. Fixating on just one lifetime's relationship can keep both sides locked in birth and death. From that day on, Good Fortune, Lotus, Bright Mind, and Wise Light committed themselves to the path taught by the Awakened One. Whenever they saw elderly people, they would recall that any of these strangers might once have been their own parent in some forgotten life. Reflecting on this, they found compassion for all living beings, treating everyone equally. Through persistent practice, they gained a profound clarity, ultimately freeing themselves from the chain of continual rebirth. This insight reminds us that if we become attached to just one relationship in the vast turning of existence, we risk sinking ever deeper into the waters of suffering. By letting go of that attachment and extending the love we feel for one person to everyone, we discover true liberation and inner peace. This is the greatest way to repay our mother's kindness, helping them transcend the endless cycle and discover boundless serenity. It also lights the way for our own lasting happiness. Today's reflections may challenge everything you once believed about the mother-child bond, but they also open a gateway to wisdom. The Awakened One teaches us that the most heartfelt ties can become the hardest barriers. Genuine love lies in helping ourselves and those dear to us move toward understanding and release. That is how we truly honor those we love and offer compassion to all beings. How do you feel about this profound perspective? Feel free to share your thoughts. If you appreciated today's talk, don't forget to show your support and stay connected. Let's continue exploring these teachings together and live with greater ease. Until next time.